Can he beat Tank? Gervonta "Tank" Davis is getting in the ring with Lamont Roach, who, while is a lesser known name to the general boxing audience, doesn't mean that he isn't skilled in his own right. So today we're going to be going over just how good Lamont Roach actually is.
So Lamont Roach is a fighter at the 130-pound division. He currently has a record of 25 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. 29-year-old fighter, 5'7", and as well has a 40% KO ratio, with his only loss being to Jamel Herring, but has definitely improved since that fight, as that was 6 years ago, and he's gone up against opponents such as Hector Garcia, which is as well a common opponent to Tank Davis, in which he did win by split decision, but he did show some very good attributes in there, being able to drop him in the last round, and as well really showcased his main attributes such as some of his great combinations, how he has fast hands, definitely a good counterpuncher as well, and we even saw some good footwork from him in which he was able to land some of those big shots, and that's how it won him the fight practically.
Yeah, and he was going up against a southpaw and Hector Luis Garcia, and obviously we know Tank did knock him out, and I think it was the 7th round in that fight, and put on a dominant performance there, breaking him down, as Tank does to most people that he's fought. But Lamont Roach isn't really the knockout artist type like Tank Davis is, so that's not really where he's going to thrive. Gervonta definitely is the more dangerous guy out of the two. You can just see in their knockout ratio and who they've been fighting. Tank's been fighting higher level competition and knocking them out. Lamont Roach has been fighting a little bit lower competition and not, so it doesn't mean he's not skilled. It doesn't mean he can't put up a good fight. Roach did put on a good performance in his last fight, not against the greatest opposition though. 8th round KO against Virgil McCrory, but this is a huge opportunity for him. He's going up against a pound for pound talent in Gervonta Davis, and this is going to be the biggest opportunity of his career, the biggest stage, the most eyeballs. And if he could beat Gervonta Davis, which is definitely a very, very tall task considering Tank is undefeated, he's fought better competition on paper than Lamont Roach, but if Roach could get this done, that would catapult him into superstardom and probably be one of the biggest upsets we've seen in modern boxing.
Yeah, and definitely for him at least, this is a big underdog story here. And Tank is heavily in favored. He's like minus 1500 right now. In no way people are really expecting Lamont Roach to come in here and do damage to Tank Davis, win this fight. So none of the pressure is really on him. People are not expecting him to do much, and even if he's able to just showcase a lot of his skill and put up a competitive, tough fight against the likes of Tank Davis, an extremely popular boxer, that would be massive for his career and could definitely get him some big fights in the future. But most definitely, this is going to be a very hard fight for him in Tank Davis, as Davis is one of the best fighters in the world right now. People expecting him to be fighting much better competition, again, on paper than Lamont Roach.
Yeah, not only is Roach less experienced, less used to the bright lights, but he's a smaller guy at 130 pounds. Tank has fought bigger guys like Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia. Lamont Roach is a super featherweight, not the biggest guy. So when you're looking at how Roach compares to some of Tank's previous opponents, on paper, it's not looking like the best opposition. Obviously, that's why the odds are what they are. Lamont Roach isn't the biggest name, and it's going to be hard to cause this upset against Tank because he's going to have to be disciplined. He's going to have to win these rounds, which in Tank's last fight, Frank Martin was having a little bit of success early on, just winning some couple rounds, but kind of everyone does against Tank, and then he just breaks them down, figures them out, and I'm worried that's probably going to be a similar thing as to what's going to happen here. But Roach has to fight disciplined. He has to win rounds. He has to stay behind his jab, not get into exchanges, overthrow, overextend like someone like Ryan Garcia did against Tank, and that's what got him dropped. He just has to use the fundamental boxing combinations and just not get too careless, because Tank can definitely take advantage of any openings in your game, and it's going to be a very tough fight for Lamont Roach to get past Tank because he's smaller. Yes, he is a little bit taller, a little bit younger, but that doesn't really mean the most when you're talking about a fight against Gervonta Davis, who fights everyone that's bigger than him and has fought many guys that are younger than him. Like, Lamont Roach is really going to have to stick to a disciplined game plan, which I don't know if he can do against Gervonta Davis without getting caught at least once in the 12 rounds.
Yeah, definitely it's a lot harder to stay disciplined like we saw him in the Hector Garcia fight compared to maybe against Tank Davis, as the level difference between that opposition is so different. But if he's able to keep his solid footwork intact and just stay disciplined, not overthrowing, overcommitting, in a guy like Tank Davis who thrives in that situation in counter punching, and he's able just to stay to his strengths, keep distance, and just don't allow Tank to really get started too much, then it could definitely improve his odds of winning massively. And probably even just Lamont Roach making it to a decision would be seen as a victory against Tank, especially as Tank is considered to be a huge power puncher and he stops all of his opponents. So even just getting to the decision, being able to look decent in the fight is definitely going to be a big win for him. And this is really the opportunity for him to make a name for himself. But another thing that might be tough for him a little bit is this is going to be the biggest stage he's ever been on. Usually whenever Tank fights, it's his stage, his card. He gets people to walk out with him. The whole crowd is just there for Tank, and it's a very Tank heavy focused card. So it's definitely going to be a massive stage, which no one's going to be really rooting for him in that arena. But if he's able to overcome these odds somehow, it will be massive for his career.
Yeah, when you look at Lamont Roach's only loss, which was to Jamel Herring, in that fight, he was trying to come forward, overextending on some punches just to land to the body of Jamel. Wasn't staying too disciplined, and that's where he was getting countered a lot. Against a southpaw from that lead hook, the straight left. He even put Jamel on skates in that 11th round. It was a pretty competitive and close fight, but Jamel Herring just simply isn't on the level of Gervonta Davis by any means. But overall, it is pretty tough to compare Lamont Roach to other fighters that Tank has fought. He's a bit smaller, doesn't quite have the same resume up to par with other guys Tank has fought. Even seems like in Lamont Roach's fights, he is pretty susceptible to the body shots. We know Gervonta knocked out Ryan Garcia with a liver shot, left hook to the liver. But overall, it seems like he may just make a little bit too many mistakes for him not to get countered at this level. It's going to definitely be a tough fight, the hardest of his career, the best opposition he's fought in his career. Gervonta Davis, a pound for pound talent right now in the sport, who is looking to continue that undefeated streak here against Lamont Roach. It's going to be hard to see Roach take that undefeated record, to be honest.
As well, if Roach doesn't end up winning this fight, it won't be too detrimental to his entire career and where he can go from here. I mean, at the end of the day, it will say on his resume that he lost to Gervonta Davis of all people, highly regarded as one of the most talented fighters on the planet. So I don't think it's going to be too bad for his career in general. He'll still definitely have time to bounce back from this. Again, like we mentioned, it's not like he's the oldest fighter. He's definitely got a lot of fights left in him, and he could definitely learn a lot from this matchup in general, even if he loses, and can definitely bring it forward for the rest of his career. But like we've said, he's got nothing to lose here, the underdog story. But even if he loses, it won't be the end of his career. He'll probably end up fighting, if he loses, some lower level opposition, of course. But it'd be good for him even to build back and try to get his confidence back if he does face a bad defeat against Tank. But Lamont Roach definitely has a ton of confidence coming into this fight. You can even see it from this clip here.
Why was it so easy when he fought Frank Martin?
Frank Martin was inexperienced and nervous. You know, it is what it is. It's going to be a different fight when I'm in there. He's going to be a different fighter when he's fighting me.
What's your game plan?
I'm always looking for a knockout. No matter what, I'm always prepared for 12 rounds. But I'm always looking for a knockout, and if I get the chance, I'm going to try to knock his head off.
But that's our thoughts on how good of a boxer Lamont Roach actually is. But let us know down below how you favor his odds against Gervonta Davis. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and click the video on the screen for more Punch Talk.